who can't see it. So welcome to everyone who's joining us live, as well as those who are not with us live, but are going to be watching the recording. I hope that the next hour is very helpful for you. And if you are watching this on a non-phone, I would encourage you to put the phone down, put all distractions away, and just really focus for the next hour, because it's kind of a workshop thing. So I'm going to be, talking a decent amount, but a lot of these things we're going to be doing is some thinking exercises. You're going to be sharing via the chat box, kind of what you're thinking. So have a pen and paper ready to go, because I really hope that this is going to be life-changing for you. And I'm going to be sharing some of my story of the last, let's call it 3 to 4 months mostly, but kind of what led up to that. And many of you I know, some of you here I've never met before. So there's a good range of people with this, and I try to be an open book. I try to be as transparent, vulnerable, honest, and I have a very little filter, so hopefully I don't say anything that I regret, but I'm always honest. So so that's the preface for this. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be sharing my screen, which has basically a PowerPoint type presentation, but you should be able to still see me talking kind of with video if everything works well. So let me get the screen share going. And if you have questions, you can put them in the chat box, and I will try to go through them. I'll pause a few times throughout, and then go through and try to answer them. And then at the end, we'll also do some Q&A if we have time for that. I will try to be as succinct as possible at 7 p.m. So, all right. So we are screen sharing now, and let me get my presentation up here. All right, start from the beginning. Perfect. All right, everyone can see that, I think. It looks good. Yep. Awesome. So welcome to the presentation. And I know some of you right now are probably in a really good place. You're doing a lot of things right. You're just looking for that edge. And I know some of you are really struggling. You feel like you're kind of back at square one. And so I've kind of tailored it to that person, because that's where I was sort of feeling a few months ago. But there's going to be plenty in here for everyone, even if you are on a good path and you're just kind of looking for that extra edge. So let's just jump in with what we got here. So, all right. So I was trying to think of things that I was feeling and things that I was hearing other people were talking about. And these were sort of some of the thoughts and feelings. So I just kind of want to put this out there first. Again, I'm looking at my other computer screen here too, but do you feel like this pandemic has really, set your health and fitness goals back a couple of years? You've just really been struggling to eat healthy, be consistent. And now you're kind of like, man, I've let myself go so much that I don't really even know where to start back up. And you're worried that maybe you're going to injure yourself. I spoke to a couple of past clients who are wanting to rejoin over the last week or two, and they're like, you know what, I'm just so deconditioned compared to what I was pre-COVID. I'm really nervous that I'm going to injure myself, or that I'm not going to be able to keep up, whether it's in person or on Zoom. And they were just really, really nervous. And I had a couple other people say, I can't even fit into my stretchy gym clothes anymore again. And again, I don't want to, I'm embarrassed by it. And wherever you're starting, just realize the past is the past, and we need to focus on the future. Try not to feel guilty about it. It is what it is, and moving forward is the most important thing. So anyways, that's kind of some of the questions and things I was feeling, as well as hearing from other people. So before I get into kind of the presentation and the content, I wanted to first just give a few shout outs and share a few positive stories, because throughout these challenges, there are so many people right now that are thriving and that are doing good. And I like to see that, because if I don't have examples of things that are working well, it could be really easy to kind of go into this negative mindset and say basically like, hey, no one's getting in shape, no one's being healthy during this time. So I just want to give a few shout outs real quick here. It's kind of a tough picture there, but you can see that's Nikki. I screen captured her, but some of you guys have probably met her if you've done the live Zoom workouts, but she's 69 and she works out with us from Bali. And I definitely want to come visit her in Bali sometime, but she is down 116 pounds now. and she has a goal of another 60 or so. And she has some helpers in Bali that kind of live with her, and she had them make handmade weights out of concrete, I believe, and some other cool, just random things, because there's not really too many weights around there. If there are, they're super expensive. So Nikki, great job. And then Jen, she had sent me this message, and we got a lot of online programs. Many of you guys are part of them. Some of you have never heard of us before, and that's cool. I'll talk about at the end a way to get involved. But she basically says she just finished up her first 12 weeks of the one-on-one coaching program. And this is what I wanted to read is, I'm proud to say that while working full-time in a hospital with a 40-minute drive, 2 young kids, and a husband trying to do his management job from home, I completed each and every workout. I wanted to let you know that Liz and Kate are amazing. I felt so supported. The community and check-ins were wonderful, and their positive attitude was so appreciated. And we're gonna be talking about a little bit later on of one of the main things that I think is important for consistency is having some sort of accountability. So we're gonna be going through that, and Jen said that. And Lorianne, another one of our clients, and she sent a few messages throughout of encouragement throughout the past 9 months, which I appreciate. She says, I still tell everyone who asks me, what's been your saving grace during COVID? I tell them it's my ability to maintain my morning workouts. Pre-COVID, I was working out 2 to 3 days a week, and now it's 5 days a week, followed by one of Brent's pre-recorded meditations. That's one of the trainers at the Transformation Center. My clothes are looser. I'm finally starting to lose some of my postmenopausal belly, and I'm better in shape now than I was 10 years ago. So having that consistency, and the benefit for some people is having it at home. You're able to do it more often because it is more time convenient. So that's a plus. Last one here before we jump in. Carol, she lives, well, I think it's Ohio. I apologize if I got that wrong, but I think she's in Ohio, and she's been doing our coaching program. And seeing how small dietary changes over time leaves you feeling satisfied and not at all deprived, and promotes sustainable success. Just came from my doctor, 5 pounds lighter than last year instead of 5 pounds heavier, and feel stronger, healthier, and more confident. And basically, we're gonna be talking about, again, with the nutrition a little bit later on, where I don't recommend trying to change tons of things, especially if we're in a state of mind where we're kind of stressed and we have a lot of unknowns in our life. Trying to change 100 different variables at one time is probably going to set us up for failure. So small little changes, like she's saying, is sustainable more than those drastic things. So all right, so let's move on. I shared this on Facebook. It was not easy for me to share this. I'm just going to share a little bit of this story, because this presentation is not about me. It's about you and how maybe you can learn from things. So December 3rd, that was for sure the heaviest I've ever been, the most out of shape I've ever been, mentally probably in the worst I've ever been. And I'll talk about why that was, and kind of trying to learn from that, because we're going to have to reflect in the last 9 months, all of us, and try to learn a little bit from it, so that maybe we're not hopefully in another pandemic, but certain things are going to happen in the future that we need to deal with, and hopefully we can handle them better. So these 2 pictures are 47 days apart. That last one was taken 11 days ago, and I've actually dropped another 3 pounds since that. So I'm down 14 now. And when I started back up on December 3rd, for me, again, these numbers aren't really that important, but it's just showing the progress I have made. I struggled to run more than 3 miles at a 9:30 pace. Now I can pretty easily run 7:45 pace, 10 miles a day. So I've been running around 10 miles a day. I've been lifting 3 times a week, I feel like I'm about 30% stronger in my lifts. But more importantly than all of that is mentally, I'm more optimistic, despite the outward stress not improving. So we'll talk a little bit more kind of about what happened, I guess. But so I want to kind of take a moment to look back. I don't like to look back too much. I like to focus on the future more. But again, there are lessons that we can learn from it. So this is a time for participation. So I want you to comment in the chat box what specific things have made this past year tough for you physically and mentally. Okay. And if you do have background noise, feel free to mute yourself, because we're not going to have a lot of chatting back and forth. So just hit the mute button. I know I can mute everyone too, but I'm not going to try to mess that up at the moment. So comment below in the chat box, and I'm going to start reading a few here. Give you a moment to do that. And if you guys are watching the recording, also write down a few things that have made this tough. All right, so Paul says coming back from knee replacement surgery, teaching from home, uncertainty and perimenopause, Jen says, social isolation, working from home and not going anywhere, sitting way too much. Nancy says the shifting schedules, the lack of personal connection face-to-face, building a home, 50 miles away from my prior home. Shar says leg strength really changed since being closed, trying to gain back strength. Alicia says seeing the toll. Oh boy, they're coming in fast. I'm losing the scroll here. Juggling work and virtual school, though very crazy schedules, complete disruption to routines. Yeah, that's a huge one. Dealing with homeschooling and not knowing what's going to happen each day. I don't know how you guys are doing with homeschooling. I'm kind of grateful my kids are still not in school. Having everyone in my family, 5 of us, working and learning from home, not having much space to myself. That's Karen. Monica says, many hours of work with Zoom is pouring energy outward with little return. Working with the public, fear of getting ill, many lost moments, and the list goes on. So yeah, there's basically, I think a lot of that can be sort of summed up by loss of routine, increased stress, and a lot of uncertainty. And Tony Robbins is kind of one of my favorite, I guess, mentors or coaches. You know, he says us as humans, we're designed to need or want some certainty, but if we have too much certainty in our life, we get bored. But I think right now we're on the side of very little certainty, which is an unnerving feeling. It's uncomfortable, causes us a lot of stress. And so for me, again, not that it really matters what my triggers were, but kind of reflecting for myself, it was 2 main things for me. One was the stress of the business. No secret, the gym business is not an easy one or a good one to be in right now during a pandemic. You know, to put in perspective, normally we'd have close to 300 people coming through the Transformation Center on a daily basis. And since COVID happened, the most we've ever had is 15 people. So what is that? Is that 5%? I don't know. It's 5%, I believe. So anyways, very, very few people are wanting to show up right now, which is tough, right? And many people don't want to do Zoom, don't want to do virtual. So that's certainly been, for sure, for me, the biggest stressor. And just when you're stressed, I find that you don't have as much, I don't know, margin in your life to want to do good things for yourself, like eat better or to exercise. So I just kind of got into this negative cycle of kind of self-pity for a while there. And then secondly, for me, you know, I do a lot of triathlons, a lot of races, and I love those, and those get me motivated. And having all those canceled early on in the pandemic, I did pretty well biking, but then again, there was not much to train for from a racing perspective, and I lost motivation for exercise. So those are 2 of my big ones looking back. And so for me, learning from that, it's you know, when stress comes in your life, even if you don't feel like eating better or exercising, we all know that we're going to feel better. We all know that we're going to deal with that stress better. But in the moment, it's so hard to do that, right? And so, you know, for me, I couldn't have probably given this presentation December 3rd because I was just starting, right? And so I can share now, almost 60 days into it, that my attitude's a lot better. I have less pessimism, I guess. I'm certainly eating better. I've got more, I guess, confidence towards the future. But what's interesting is those stressors, the business, still more challenging than it's ever been right now, is even more challenging than 3 months ago. There's still no races really that have officially been confirmed yet, but I guess I am more optimistic that those are going to happen. So the external circumstances really haven't changed, but internally things are changing, and that's important for building that momentum. And so anyways, hopefully that helps, kind of that reflection point before we kind of jump in. I'm just going to read a few messages here. Mary says, having to interact virtually with everyone, handling more issues related to business. And Alicia says, thankful and continually impressed with the product the TC is producing. Appreciate that. And I appreciate you guys all for your support. That really means a lot. It's always meant a lot, but it means more than ever. So, all right. So let's see here. Some of you have read my book before. I talk about it in there, but really, we're not going to change any behavior in our life until this happens. So basically, change comes from you deciding that the cost or pain of the current road you're going down is more expensive or painful than the cost or pain of going down a new road. Okay, I'm going to read that one more time because all change is from this, I believe. So change comes from you deciding that the cost/pain of the current road you're going down is more expensive and painful than the cost or pain of going down a new road. So, I use the classic example of, someone maybe smoked their entire lives. They get the diagnosis from the doctor, they have lung cancer, and they're going to die unless they stop smoking. And the chances are of them stopping smoking is much higher this time around than the other times, because the cost of pain of going down a new road of stopping smoking isn't as great as the pain of dying early. So what I want to now do, and I've done this a couple times over the past few years. It's in my book. We're going to go through it fast, but I really recommend you spending a few minutes, actually 20 or 30 minutes going through this. Whenever you feel like you're wanting to make a change, but you're not making that change, maybe you're procrastinating on it, or you just don't have the motivation. This has helped me in a lot of areas of my life. And again, full transparency, being vulnerable. This is one of the most powerful exercises I did to decide to finally get married after kind of living the bachelor life for many, many years. Was doing this. And so I call it the 10-year challenge exercise, or whatever, 10-year visualization. So for a moment, what I want you to do is kind of just close your eyes. Again, if you have any distractions, try to block those out. We're just going to kind of take a few deep breaths here. We're just going to do a little bit of visualization. So a couple deep breaths in and out. And I want you to think about your life, kind of where it's going right now. And if there's things in your life right now that just, aren't going well as far as habits go, again, we can focus right now on the health and wellness side of things, but this is applicable to any area of your life, your relationships or your career or whatever. But just focusing now on your health and wellness, your eating, your exercise, the people you surround yourself with. If you don't make some of these changes that you should make, what would life look like 10 years from now? What would life look like maybe in 5 years from now? What would your weight be? What would your energy feel like? What would your hobbies look like or not look like? What types of vacations could you take or maybe not take? What would the relationships with your family, your friends, your kids, what would those look like? I want you to get just really visual on this and really detailed. And if you feel comfortable, so again, this is a 30-minute exercise at least to really do it justice, but I want you to just write down one thing in the chat box of a vision. And this should be painful. This should be uncomfortable. This should be not pleasant because we're going to be trying to create a contrast here in a moment. So just share, if you do feel comfortable, what that might look like. Margot, it's great to see you on the call there too. So I'll let everyone type for a few more moments. Again, what's one thing that you may not be able to do? Amy says a lot of misery and disappointment myself, low self-esteem due to poor body image, high blood pressure, possible heart disease, pre-diabetes. Lisa says very overweight, constantly feeling sick. Monica says living in pain with little mobility, making travel and time with grandchildren compromise, chronic health problems. Ron says weight will most likely increase if I don't start exercising, eating healthier, which could lead to health problems. Shar says gaining weight and lost strength would be sad. So keep writing there. And again, what I would do is journal this and have like 5, 10, 15 different, very specific, very detailed, very emotional responses that you can really start to feel, because we need to make this as powerful and emotional as possible. So now I want you to close your eyes again. We're going to do another visualization. So this is a little bit happier now. So I want you to close your eyes and again, think of your life, your future self 5, 10 years from now. If you start to make those changes that you should make, again, whether that's exercising more consistently, spending time with people who are going to lift you up and not tear you down, eat the foods that are going to fuel your body, drinking the water, whatever that is. Like, what now could you do or can you do? What types of vacations, what types of hobbies do you either start or can continue doing? What do your relationships look like with your family, your friends, your grandkids, your kids? What does your relationship with food look like? As you're doing this, just take a couple nice deep breaths. And as you visualize this, maybe it's a specific vacation that you wanted to take that requires maybe a little bit of fitness or a lot of fitness. Maybe it's an activity or a race that you wanted to do. As you think of this, you should feel happiness and joy and excitement, optimism. And I want you now to type out in the chat box one thing that jumped out at you the most. One thing that got you the most excited, the most motivated. Amy says she'd be proud of herself. Freedom from food cravings, clears up mental space to be more engaged in the world. Fitness that allows for long walks in big cities, to bookstores and coffee shops. More physically fit to be able to organize bike rides and walks like I used to. Energy to live my best life. Mobility and achieving my dreams. Feeling better about having my picture taken. That's a great one, especially with my family. Take interactive vacations instead of sitting and just viewing the world. That's a powerful one. That's so powerful. Active lifestyle. I want to be able to be active with my adult children, walking them through the streets of Israel, where we will hopefully be living. No regrets, personal pride, no more bad food cravings. Awesome. Keep sharing, keep writing that down. Wonderful. Okay, so moving on. Now I want you to close your eyes one last time. And again, if we gave this 30 minutes, you would have a long list of kind of what your life could look like if you don't make these changes, and then one list of what your life could and would look like if you do make these changes. So close your eyes again. And I just want you to reflect on these last 5 or 6 minutes and what's kind of an observation or a takeaway. And again, the goal of this is to create such a dramatic disparity between what life could look like if we make poor decisions and what life could look like if we make healthy decisions, so that the healthy decisions, it's just a no-brainer that we want to go there and we want to stay there because the pain of not making those changes is so great. Okay, so just give you about a minute here to think about that, and then write down just one observation, and then we're going to move on from this. All right, so once you got something, write it down in the chat box. I'll read a few off. I love that, Shar. My happiness in life is up to me, my decision. Exactly. Monica says, this fork in the road is paved by my choices with support. One meal, one workout at a time. Absolutely, yep. Time passes so quickly, it's worth being the best self to enjoy life to the fullest versus having the last years feel cruddy. I can control my health. I'm in the driver's seat to make positive changes, Ron says. Good, keep a couple more coming. Those are all really awesome. And that's kind of what I came up with too for this exercise is like, whatever the external circumstances are, some of those I can't control, but I can control how I handle them and how I react to them. And that's a powerful feeling. So then we feel like we're back somewhat in control. Obviously there's always things that we can't control, but having the control of our emotions around them is super powerful. So a few more. take that first step to a healthier life. Absolutely. Awesome. Keep writing those down there. Thank you for doing that exercise. Again, I encourage you to dive deeper into this, and then always come back to this in any area of your life that you feel like you're struggling, where you're like, man, I know I know something needs to change, but it just hasn't been painful enough yet for me to want to change. Life just keeps getting better by being in shape. Lots of things I can't even imagine. Absolutely, for sure. Awesome. All right. So I titled this thing starting off on square one. Really, it's not square one, assuming that you've done stuff in the past, okay? So for me, when I started on December 3rd, I wasn't starting at square one. I've had many, many years of doing stuff and many experiences. So not only the physiological experience of that, my body does remember what that is, but also the emotional. So for example, for you, if you haven't really done much for the last 9 months, but you were doing something, even if that was walking or a little bit of strength training or whatever it was, you have that knowledge, you have that experience, your body knows what that feels like, and it will respond better and faster to it. And maybe this is your first time kind of really ever, focusing on exercise and nutrition. There's still other areas that you've done before that have led up to this to allow you to be successful. So don't feel like, whatever, the past is completely helpless, or anything you did in the past was wasted. I hear that a lot from clients who maybe backslid or again, quit, lost the community, just have what they feel like go back to zero. They feel like they just wasted the previous 2 or 3 years getting in shape. I promise you, those years were not wasted. And just a great example, I look at athletes a lot. I mean, you'll see some athletes have some devastating injuries or illnesses, which take them out for like 6 months where they can't walk or whatever it is. But like 6 months later, they come back so much fitter than, let's say, I would ever be, even if I trained for 5 or 10 years. Why? Because they've developed that fitness over the course of 5, 10, 15 years leading up to that injury. So again, let's keep a positive attitude about things. Okay, so I want to just briefly share sort of, again, this is me being open and vulnerable. When I created this list of things, and we're focusing a lot here on motivation, because listen, there's a lot of plans out there that can work for you, but if you're not motivated and ready and can create or tell yourself a story that's going to get you going and keep you going, it doesn't matter what you do. My goal will be at the end to kind of share some practical tips on exercise and nutrition, but we're not diving too deep into that area tonight because this is so much more important. So when I kind of looked at the 10-year exercise and just thought about sort of where I was on December 3rd, versus where I wanted to go. Here's kind of what I put. I'm just going to read through these pretty fast. These are very individualized to me. Some of these will not resonate with you at all, but hopefully this gives you some ideas, because I do believe that most of us, I'm competitive, not everyone's competitive, but we need that carrot in front of us to chase. Okay. So I'm a big fan of like signing up for a race or activity or event. I know Mary's on this call and she had messaged me and said, hey, maybe I should do another Tough Mudder or sign up for another Tough Mudder in August to kind of motivate me to do it, to get in shape for it. And so I think those things are really good, but we need that carrot in front of us. So here is either, again, we're either trying to avoid pain or chase towards a future pleasure. Basically, that's all motivation is. So for me, I don't want to feel like crap with a defeatist attitude. I was really mentally again in not a good place, and I was just blaming other people and other things and the media and whatever. Just I wasn't taking responsibility. I don't want to feel the fat rolls over my pants when I sat down. I don't want to let my family and clients who look up to me, I've always focused on being this healthy, inspirational person, and I don't want to be incongruent, which goes right below that. I don't want to be incongruent between my beliefs that I'm a fit and healthy person. This is why people who maybe have struggled with their weight their entire lives and then lose weight really struggle, because they haven't changed their belief of them being a fit and healthy person. So as I gained that weight and got to my heaviest point, it didn't feel right, because my belief is that I'm an athlete, I'm a trainer, I try to live by example, and I wasn't living by example. And you kind of have that eating away feeling, right? Just kind of that guilt, but also it's like you're not being your true self. So not to say that that's going to cause you to do the right thing or do the healthy thing, but it certainly does help. But the other way is the same way. If you tell yourself, I'm big bone, I'm fat, I've always struggled with my weight, I'm an emotional eater, and I'm never gonna handle that correctly or whatever, and then you do lose the weight, you start to have that momentum. In the back of your mind, you're still that other person. So you got to change that identity, which we're not really going into today. It's easier said than done, but that's, if you can change your identity, all these other things are a lot easier. I don't want to lose my ab definition. That's something, just again, that's a selfish personal thing. I've always had a focus on that. So those are kind of my I don'ts. Those are like getting out of the pain. And then here's more kind of what gets me excited, or kind of those carrots for me. Again, I'm a competitive person. I'm a numbers guy. That's just my personality. So I want to run a sub 3-hour marathon. Last year, this time, basically 1 week from now, I ran a 3:04. I want to get under 3 hours. I want to run a sub 10-hour Ironman. Power on the bike, basically. I want 330 watts or higher. I want to be back to race weight. So I weighed in today at 189. So I am pretty close to that from a 203 start. I want to have a defined six-pack again, which is, for me, again, one of the markers of kind of my personal health. I want my attitude to be determined by my thoughts and not external circumstances. I want to have more energy to tackle each day. Again, I'm just feeling really lethargic. And I want to feel empowered by creating discipline in my life again. And discipline, it's a good feeling, right? When you have it, and when you don't have it, it sucks. It just feels like, again, you're not in control of things. So those are my motivators. I'm going to try to look at these on a regular basis so that I don't forget about them. And I encourage you to write down a list of your own that you have. So, all right, let's keep moving on. Okay. All right, let's take a look at time. We're doing good for time. So what I want you to do, and we're not going to go through these, again, in super big detail, but these are some of the areas in life, if you've read my book and heard me speak, I believe we're a product of our environment. I'm just so, I believe this more than just about anything else I ever say, is that, the Biggest Loser, for example, is the easiest example I know. You put them in probably a healthy environment, but an insanely active and eating environment that's clean, I guess, they're going to lose weight. You put them back into their past environment, they're going to probably gain weight. Okay. So here's some of the areas that I think are really important to think about right now, all the time, but especially right now. So workout space. So for those of you who are doing things from home, which obviously a lot of you are, and again, who knows how long this pandemic's lasting? I think it's obviously, it's going to be improving here, but investing, whether that's physical space for your workout space or some money into it, but making it so that you can be successful, that you enjoy being in there. I know Sue, one of our killer curves, she keeps posting, she keeps updating her home gym, and it looks awesome. And I think it just makes her more excited to be there. And so if it's an environment that you want to be in more, the chances of you working out there are going to be higher. So again, whether that's getting heavier dumbbells or getting whatever it is, make sure you're getting stuff that you're actually going to use though, right? Because so many people buy a treadmill for $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. They use it for a few weeks and they never use it again. So buy things that you think are going to help. And I'll just throw out a few here that I basically I have in my gym. Would be dumbbells. And dumbbells you can buy, again, basically anywhere, right? So we had a big shortage at the beginning. So I would say having a few different weights, right? So like, again, everyone's different strengths here, but 5s, 10s, maybe 12s, 15s, many of you probably 20s, and then some of you some 25s or 30s or 35s, at least one of those sets that are a little heavier, especially for your legs. And having those extra sets will allow you to progress, but definitely at least 2 sets of weights and more is better to do that. So you got that one. They'll basically never ever break, so you'll have them for the rest of your life. And so you got that, and then a stability ball, ab ball. I'd get that. I would get. Those are the 2 main things. And then the other things I would probably get, if I was going to get more than that, would be a TRX. I think TRXs are so versatile. You can travel with them. If you have background noise, please mute yourself. You can travel with TRXs really easily. Resistance bands, I know we sold some resistance bands here, trying to use them. They're handy, they're light, they're easy to use, they're affordable. Then like things like, those slam balls or medicine balls, those are nice to have. They're not, I don't think, as important. I have like a bench, like a step up thing. So I like, you could get like a regular bench press, but the thing I don't like about those is really it's only one height. I would rather get kind of the steps, the aerobic steps. Again, if you've been in the transformation center, you've seen them, and get a bunch of extra risers, because then you can do things like step ups and you can progress yourself from a high step or a lower step. There's just a lot more stuff you can do on them than having a set, whatever it is, 18-inch bench. So that's one I would get if you're gonna, again, expand past the initial. Trying to think what else. I think a foam roller is great for recovery. And that's the main things. Again, a treadmill, a rower, a skier, those are really awesome if you're gonna, actually use them on a consistent basis. But they're definitely more expensive, and you can still get cardio other ways as well. So that's the workout space. Okay, so the next one's here: fridge, freezer, pantry. I've done videos in the past of kind of showing you mine, but basically the big thing here is just try to get rid of as much crap as you can that's processed. One thing, if you want to look through your fridge, pantry, and freezer, is anything that says enriched is one thing that's easy to just eliminate right away. Again, enriched, those are wheat products, carbs that have been processed heavily. So if you're going to look for just one thing to read and get rid of, that's an easy one. But so for me here on this one, so I really upgraded my workout space at home because I'm not a huge mass person myself. So I took a little bit from the TC, but I bought most of my own stuff. I don't want to steal from the TC. So I got my workout space updated. Fridge, freezer, pantry. Tessa, and I'm not blaming her on this because ultimately it's my responsibility for what I eat, but I just found like just more, she's pregnant, and more unhealthy things were coming into the house. She was offering me a lot more stuff like, hey, do you want ice cream after dinner tonight? And so when December 3rd hit, I was like, hey, listen, I'm not feeling good about myself. I don't think I'm showing up the best version for you, the kids, and ultimately I'm responsible for myself, but you're the one that does the grocery shopping. And so I'm not saying you can't bring these things into the house, but just don't offer them to me, or try not to offer them as much. And then what I did was in the pantry and the freezer, I just put everything like in the bottom shelf where I'm pretty tall, so I couldn't really see it down there. I knew it was there, but again, when I'm not seeing it on a daily basis, it's a lot easier to say no. I recommend people literally put it like in the basement or hide it somewhere. If it's like a teenager who has all this crap and you're not bringing it in, but they are, like, or even get them a little refrigerator that they keep in their room of the unhealthy stuff. So I'm just looking at your fridge, freezer, pantry. If you can keep things as clean and as healthy as possible, so when you're having that craving, you literally have to drive somewhere to go get it, you're way less likely to do it. So cleaning up your food environment at home, and I know this is so important right now as many of you are working from home. Brings us to work. Work could be home right now, so that's basically just what we talked about with your home environment. But if you are at work, it can be a tricky situation, right? Like people, maybe not right now, but bring in a lot of treats. They celebrate birthdays. And it's a challenging place sometimes. I know we have a lot of nurses and teachers. Those are probably our two most clients. And both of those are notorious for having, please mute yourself if you guys have background noise, are notorious for having just really unhealthy environments at work when it comes to food and even just other things too. But anyways, all right, relationships. Relationships are another big one where, if they're toxic, if they're bringing you down, they're going to, make you sad, depressed, stressed, and then it's going to cause you to want to eat more and not want to work out. And again, my example is with Tessa, just telling her, hey, this is where I'm at. It's where I'm struggling. This is what I'd like you to do. And she's done a really awesome job. She's been saying, hey, here's, you want to eat this, and it's a lot healthier, version, and just hasn't been buying as much unhealthy stuff too. So those are so important. I can't stress those enough, because if you, are inundated with an unhealthy, if you just have temptations of food everywhere, you don't really have a workout space that you like or effective, it's going to be really hard to stay consistent with. So All right. So I want to go practical now a little bit with exercise and then some nutrition stuff. Then we'll open up for questions. So some of this stuff I've changed my opinion on over the last 5-10 years, and I'll just kind of share what it is. But basically, if you have gone, let's just say 3 months or longer without really consistent exercise at all, I would kind of look at this as maybe your guide. And this phase could last between, I would say, 4 and 12 weeks, somewhere around there. It's probably the amount that's going to be. If you're fitter, if you have taken less time off, maybe it's closer to the 4 weeks. If you're very deconditioned, taking a long break, maybe more like 12 weeks. So this is where I really changed. I kind of before I was like, you know what, let's hit it hard 3 to 4 times a week, 2 to 3 times a week, whatever it is, just go as hard as you can. And then those other days are kind of off days, recovery days. And that can still work. Absolutely. You can still get some really good results with that. But in my personal life, and also helping clients too, I'm now a big believer in keeping the frequency high, 6 to 7 days. Once a week, rest or recovery, I think is totally fine and good. But the reasons I believe this is because exercise makes us feel good, right? So the more consistent we can be, we kind of get that endorphin rush every day. That's going to help us with consistency, with motivation. Now, if you're planning on working out 6 days a week and just something comes up one day where you didn't get that workout in, okay, then you're getting 5 days in, pretty good still. But if you're only doing 3 days and then you miss a day, you're not making up another day, then it's going to be, twice a week then. So that's another part of it. And then also, I think that just doing something on a regular basis, it's easier to keep it going when you're inconsistent. And again, it kind of creates that momentum. And if you're only working out 2 or 3 times a week, I find it just hard to restart. And so again, for me, I've been running every day. I think I'm on day around 60. I don't recommend that for really anyone, but I've been running about 10 miles a day. And I've only had 1 day off during that time. And that's because I had a little bit of an injury, or a little bit, it hurt my leg. So I find though, again, if I took like 2 days off, getting back into running again, it'd be so hard to start back up because I lost that momentum. But here's the important thing. If you do 6 or 7 days a week and you're busting your butt working super hard every day, you will get injured. You will get probably demotivated at some point. You'll get overtrained. All right. I'm trying to figure out how to mute everyone without getting up. Who's ever got the background noise? If you guys could mute your, I don't know who's got it, so. Sorry, I should know how to mute everyone.
Dustin, you should be able to do that by going into the participant list. And there should be a mute all in the menu.
All right. Yeah, Can I do that without exiting out of my PowerPoint? I'm trying to not exit out. Let's see here. I don't know. We'll keep going with it. And okay. So, but you got to keep intensity low on many of those days. So as I'm running every day, I'm keeping my heart rate for me at 145 or below, which is a talking pace. It's a pace that I feel like I could, or intensity I feel like I could keep up for many hours at a time. If you go high intensity for more than 2 or 3 days a week, you're definitely going to probably get close to having that overtraining and just too much stress to the body. So if you are doing our Zoom classes, for example, which are higher intensity, I mean, yes, you can tone them down to as low as you want to or need to. Okay, let me see your participants. Yeah. There we go. Mute all. Thank you. All right, we're all quiet now. Okay. So keeping the impact low, it's especially as you're aging or if you've had joint issues in the past. But even if you have good joints, again, 5 or 6 days a week of higher impact stuff is just not good long term. So intensity low. So what I was saying is, like, if you're doing the Zoom classes and you're really pushing it, I would do like 3 days a week of that, maybe 4 days if you are pretty experienced and been doing it for a long time. And then if you are going to do 1 or 2 more days of that Zoom, I would definitely go really light weights. And if there's any impact exercises, I would go low impact on those. Or even like maybe it's 3 days a week going heavy, and then maybe that 4th day is light. And then the other days, what I would love to see is either some yoga, or you can do some extra core work, or you can really do any cardio you want to. I mean, running is going to be the highest impact. But if it's, walking or walking up an incline, really anything that gets the heart rate up, or at least like at a moderate level, not super high, that you can do again every day. And it just helps you feel good. It creates viscosity in the joints. That was another thing too. Like my knees were actually worse when I wasn't doing exercise. They're better now that I'm running 70 miles a week. It doesn't make sense, right? But because I wasn't moving my body, I wasn't getting that viscosity, the joints lubricated, I wasn't drinking enough water, all those things add up. So keep weights light to moderate. Again, when you're starting back up, the risk of injury is probably the highest over those first 4 weeks, and muscle strains and tendon pulls are generally the 2 most common things that we see. So just keep it a little bit lighter. And the end of most workouts, you should feel like you could do that again soon after. Again, those are on the easier workouts. Now, if you're pushing yourself, you've been doing this for a while, you probably should not feel like you could do that again. But again, you shouldn't be doing that 6 days a week, right? 3 to 4. So when I do my run, I stop and get some water or whatever, and I feel like I could do that again if I wanted to or needed to. So, and if you guys do have questions, feel free to just comment in the chat box, and I'm going to get to them. So if you have exercise questions, put them down here, and I'll answer them. Okay, next one. So once you are past that comeback phase, here's kind of what I would recommend progressing to. I still believe keeping the frequency high, 6 to 7 days a week. The intensity now, moderate to high, 2 to 3 times a week, and then low the rest. So basically what I just said from that previous slide, for those of you who are already in a good routine, that's what you should kind of go to. And then higher impact, 1 to 2 times a week, if the joints allow it. Again, you can get in phenomenal shape without really any high impact exercises. So just keep that in mind. Don't risk it. If you have bad knees, bad hips, bad ankles, whatever, don't be trying to do jump squats or anything like that. Keep the impact low, because if you get injured or those joints and really flare up and you're not able to work out, you're back farther than if you just had skipped or modified that exercise. And then increase weights to 10 to 15 rep maxes. So basically that means if you were initially using like 5-pound weights that you probably could have done 20 or 30 times if you had to for reps, picking a weight that's maybe 10 pounds or 15 pounds where you fatigue at good form between 10 and 15 reps. That's kind of a good rep range where you're challenging your muscles quite a bit, but you're not doing 2 rep maxes, but you're not doing a weight that you could do 30 times. Okay, so questions. Amy says, on the off days of Zoom class or boot camp, how long should we be doing the other exercises? Great question. Kind of depends on your goals. And I know it's a cop-out answer, but I would say, a minimum of 15, 20 minutes. I think that's the minimum to really get the endorphins, that kind of feel good, kind of going, kind of get loosened up. But 30 minutes, 45, 60 minutes. If you're going for like a walk, if you're going for a fast walk and you're decently fit or not even maybe super fit, and you can go for 2 hours on that walk, like go for 2 hours. It's low intensity, right? So you can do that as long as you want to. If you're going to focus on core exercises, really 15 minutes of focused core work is probably all you need to do if you're doing that sort of thing. But cardio wise, 15, 20 minute minimum. I would say really no maximum, as long as the heart rate stays pretty low. Basically, whether it's a heart rate, if you're tracking your heart rate or perceived exertion, just think of it as, could you carry a conversation? Could you have a pretty comfortable conversation? Maybe you're huffing and puffing a little bit where you can't have complete full sentences, but for the most part, you could have a conversation. That's low intensity. Moderate intensity is where you can still have some sort of conversation, but it's a little bit choppy. And then high intensity is where you could maybe say a couple words. Okay, Ron says, what is a good core exercise to do? Great questions. So, I mean, there's tons of them, but my favorites, I think planks are still one of the greatest. So front planks, side planks, swimmers, right? Where you lay on your belly, get your arms out in front of you on the ground, back extensions on the ball. I'm a big believer in, again, working those lower back muscles just as much as your abs. What else do we got? And the planks you can do on the floor, you can do them on a stability ball. You probably don't have access to them right now. After this workshop here, I'm going to go to the TC here and do some crunches where I've got my arms in those slings. So if you do have access to those slings, I'm a big fan of those. But throwing in a few crunches here or there is a good exercise, but I don't focus on crunches too much. I think working those deep core muscles are much better. And then, I don't know, bicycles for one more to throw in there, where you lay on your back, crossing over as you bring your legs to and from. Okay, Shar says, how do you do higher intensity with some joint issues you're dealing with? Yeah, and high intensity can mean strength training, but a lot of times high intensity means cardio. So if you're, again, depends on what you have access to, but if you have a treadmill, for example, you would just want to crank up the incline. Maybe it's 5%, 6%, 7%, whatever it is, so that you're huffing and puffing where you can't have full sentences while you're still walking, right? So that really depends on the speed and incline for each person, but that's one way to do it. Again, if you have access to a skier or a rower or something like that, that's a good no impact way. But definitely trying to stay away from running, I would say. If you're doing stuff outdoors, finding a hill and walking up the hill as fast as you can, or maybe it's a really slow jog if that doesn't irritate the knees, you can do that. I don't know, if you're stationary in your house and you have nothing to work with, high knees, just kind of punching with your arms and then just kind of marching in place as fast as you can without getting that impact into it. That's another thing that you can try to do. So that's some of them, but yeah, having some equipment with that definitely makes things easier. If you guys have more questions or an exercise, please write them there and I'll go into that. So nutrition, this is not a nutrition talk. I mean, we've got tons of recipes and menus and all that stuff in our program, so you can look at. But just here's kind of more higher level things that I think are the most important. Like I mentioned at the beginning of tonight, don't try to change everything at once. It's so easy to want to make this massive overhaul. And if you do that, unless you have prior experience and prior success doing that, it's probably going to backfire. And especially, I coach a lot of people who have families and kids still in the house, especially teenagers or like kids that are just a little older who have a really strong opinion. I guess little kids have strong opinions too, but trying to change their nutrition when you're also trying to change yours can be a lot of fighting, I guess, and a lot of stress too. So don't try to change everything. Just pick a few things. If you are gonna, it's just off the top of my head here, but if you're gonna pick a couple things, I would say, again, eliminating processed foods, which one of the biggest ones is anything that says enriched wheat, anything. So getting that, anything that says like corn oils, soybean oils, any of those vegetable oils just are awful for you. And again, correspond to pretty much all processed foods. And then, just the obvious stuff, right? Like getting soda or any sort of sweet liquids out of the house. What else is there? Again, candy, sugar, ice cream, cookies, chips, all those sorts of things. Just picking a few of those things and trying to either get rid of them or have them on special occasions. And then pick one thing to start doing. So, I mean, that could be a few that I think are the most helpful or transformative would be maybe setting a protein goal, for example. And usually we say like so if you're let's call 150 pounds, at least 75 grams of protein. I'd say 75 to 100 grams of protein, somewhere in there. And then try to somewhat evenly space those, the protein out throughout the day with your meals. So if you are a 5-time a meal eater or 5-time a day eater, and you're trying to get 100 grams of protein in, do 20 grams approximately per meal or snack. If you're doing intermittent fasting and you're eating 2 meals a day, get closer to 40 or 50 in with each of those meals. So just kind of try to spread it out through however your meals look. So getting the protein in. I think a vegetable goal is another really good one because, again, there's not many calories in it. Generally, they fill you up more. There's fiber in them. And so 25-ish grams of fiber a day, or that might look like 5 servings of vegetables or more each day. That could be something to focus on. So pick one thing to eliminate or reduce, pick one thing to start doing. Food journaling, I would say, is always a great tool to use, and it's a great thing to do if you've, again, slid back a little bit. It brings what you're subconsciously doing into your conscious mind because you have to write it down. And then drink a ton of water. I got my water right here. This is, I think, when I struggle the most, when I don't even feel the best. Even the last 60 days, I've been really doing well. There's been a few days where I've just felt a little bit worse. It's because I haven't been drinking my water. So I'm a big believer myself personally. I try to, do a gallon or more a day. I'm running a lot, so I'm sweating a lot, especially if I'm doing those indoor sessions. So I'm drinking probably a gallon and a half on those days. But whatever that is, half your ounces in body weight pounds. So again, for 150 pounds, 75 ounces of water. I think that's a bare minimum. I don't think drinking 100 ounces or 120 ounces is going to have negative health side effects for it. So, all right. Any other questions on nutrition? Yeah. So let's. I'm going to pause for a moment here and write down any questions you have. And we'll go about 5 minutes over here. So actually, yeah, if you have a nutrition question, write that in there and I'll try to answer a couple more. And this is just kind of wrapping things up. And again, right at the end here, I'll talk about sort of this new program that we're putting together for, we kind of put together for our clients. It's pretty similar to what they've done before, but for past clients or brand new people, it's a great way to kind of jump in into one of our programs. So putting it all together. So evaluate what went wrong or what the challenges were over the last, 9 months, whatever your timetable is. Create inspiring whys, right? There's the saying, if you have a big enough lever, you can move a mountain. And I think if you have a big enough why, you can accomplish anything. And when we're struggling to do whatever we want to do or think what's best for us, I think we just haven't created a big enough why or an inspiring enough why to do that. Optimize your environment. Your environment will dictate your success. So optimize that for health, making being healthy as convenient as possible, as enjoyable as possible, as making being unhealthy and being lazy as inconvenient and as painful as possible. Find and create a workout plan that fits your goals and your abilities. Join a community, find a workout partner, a trainer, a coach. Having that person that's going to check in on you, going to answer questions, has helped other people. That's super important. And then don't overthink it and don't try to find all the answers. Trust the process and start immediately. Just continue to put it off another day, another hour, another week, another month, whatever it is not going to serve you at all. Remember that 10-year exercise. If you knew all these bad things were going to happen to you, wouldn't it make sense to start right away? And you don't have to know everything, right? Just have to take that first step. And so I've given you a lot of first steps tonight. I hope that you can kind of use to start building that momentum back up. And as the momentum builds, you feel better, you see the results, your confidence builds, and then one thing leads to the next, and you start to see some great changes. So I have a few questions here. Where are we at here? Okay. Margaret asked, could you send us out an email with an attachment? I think I can. Yeah, I don't see why not. We'll have Emily try to figure that out. And then Alicia says, it took me a long time to fully grasp you cannot outwork a bad diet. I thought I'm working out so I can have milk duds. Dustin, you actually told me that over a decade ago. I'm telling you, I'm doing 15 hours of exercise right now. I don't recommend that. I've done up to 22 hours of exercise. And even that, I could certainly eat a lot more than I could when I was doing 3 or 4 hours a week, but I can still put on fat quite easily doing 20 hours of exercise. So you're absolutely right, Alicia. And Nancy says, you were saying that we should be able to get out of a workout and then we should feel like we go back and work out again right away. So what I'm saying, Nancy, is that when you're starting back up, if you're really deconditioned again and you're really trying to have it be your kind of easy workout, that yes, after you've done a workout, you should be able to maybe repeat that pretty close to it soon after. So if you're just giving it all, but you've been consistent from what I can tell, and so you may not need that. But I'm just saying if someone's really deconditioned and really starting from close to square one, doing it at a really low intensity is what I was trying to say. And then Nancy says, thanks for the reminder on the protein. Perfect. Awesome. All right. Well, as we wrap up here, I'm 3 minutes late, but pretty close to on time. So this Emerge 100, our staff came up with kind of Emerge as sort of our rallying cry, I guess, for 2021 and just kind of emerging from the pandemic. And it's 100 days. And hopefully many of you on this who are already clients of ours, we're giving this to you for free. You reach out to your trainer and you're going to have 3 coaching calls, 15, 20 minutes on Zoom or phone, whatever you prefer, to check in and really hone in on what your specific goals, your specific action steps are. And for those of you who are using our app, which I hope all of you are, it's a great tool. We'll put in there your daily habits that you and your trainer have committed to or decided that are important for you. And then every day you'll just check off that box. I drank my 90 ounces of water. I had my 5 servings of protein or whatever it is. And our goal is not for perfection. You may want to try to hit 100 out of 100 days, but what we're saying is we're challenging you to do it 80% of the time. Try to hit that 80% of the time. We're making that momentum going forward. So if you're not part of our transformation community, Transformation Center, online or in person, if you've never been or it's been a while, we'd love to have you come back and check it out. And so this is kind of what you have access to is unlimited live recorded workouts. We have over 60 live workouts a week between all of our programs, lots of eating plans, daily meditation videos, yoga, other specialty videos. We have our app, like I mentioned, get the one-on-one coaching calls, and you get communication with your trainer via the app as well. It's basically a text messaging thing. So if you are interested, if you're not part of it right now, this picture is hilarious, I think. This is Michael. So Michael is not only a client of the Killer Curves, he's in his early 50s. He's lost about 60 or 70 pounds in the program, but about 4 months ago, he also started working with us. And he does a lot of phone calls, and we call them discovery calls, just talking with people, learning more about their goals and kind of sharing kind of how we may or may not be able to help that person. So that picture was taken I think this past Friday. The title Liz said was Staying in Your Own Lane. So this is Michael's cell phone. So if you could right now, if you're interested in learning more about the Emerge program, text him right now. He gave me permission to do this. So I'm going to keep this number up here, 608-512-7192. And again, we talked about taking action immediately, not thinking about it, just shoot him that text. And then you guys tomorrow or the next day can figure out a time to have a 15, 20-minute call. I'm going to go 5 extra minutes here. If you guys have other questions for me, I'm going to keep it in the chat box versus opening it up via video. It's just cleaner and easier that way. I would love to chat with each of you individually on video. But do you guys have any other questions about anything we talked about tonight as far as motivation, exercise, nutrition, or if you have any other questions specifically about the Emerge program? Put them in the comment box now. Where are the meal plans you referenced for Emerge? So they are in your members area of the website. And we have the newish vegetarian eating plan that Ryan created. That's in there, as well as kind of our traditional 21-day program. I think we have a 6-week program in there too. So kind of all the ones that you've had in the past, those are in there too in the website. Lisa says, how do I join Emerge if current client? Just reach out to your trainer. So you should have received a couple emails about it, but yeah, message your trainer via the app or whatever, Facebook, however you communicate with that person, and just say you want to set up a coaching call with them. Barb says, thank you. This is very helpful. Awesome. Appreciate it. Shar says, no questions. You've helped my motivation immensely. Awesome. Appreciate that. And can't seem to get this private message. So Pam, you can either go through Brent or, yeah, you're already a client, so go right through Brent. message him directly, and he'll set up a time to meet with you. Ron says, thanks a lot. You bet. This is very helpful. Appreciate it. Thanks to you guys for all your time. And I'll stay on here for about 30 more seconds if there are any other questions for you. But thanks again for investing an hour in your health, your wellness. If you have other people in your life that you think could use some help right now, could use some guidance, that's more than just, using Beachbody or what other, there's a million programs out there right now. And if you do start to feel comfortable coming back in person, you are local to Madison, we'd love to have you back. We've still had 0 cases of COVID in the TC, which is mathematically insane that we haven't had any. And it's just a testament to how careful we are, how many different protocols we've put in place, and how much social distancing we have going on right now. And awesome, bunch of thank yous there. Glad you guys could make it. And thank you for watching the replay. For those of you guys who are watching the replay, same thing for you guys. Text Michael at 608-512-7192, and he'll connect with you right away and set up a call. So have a great day and a great evening and a great start of your week. Take care.